Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic workshop. We are in the workshop this time and we are doing a workshop catch-up or catch-up and this car hasn't been featured for some time, so it's about time we had another look at this. This is going to be big news when this car is finished. I remember, if I go back to the Italian job Miura, discovering that and authenticating that in 2015, 2016 with Olivier Nemesh, the Lamborghini historian. It became world news. It's hard to believe, but it was actually featured in the national newspapers in the UK. I had a radio station from Moscow get in touch with me. That wouldn't happen now. The Toronto Daily Star or something got in touch. The New York Times all did articles about discovering this Lamborghini Miura from the movie. This car, I would say, is even more important than that. This is a Ferrari 250 GT from 1959, but what makes this incredibly interesting is the fact that Ferrucio Lamborghini owned this car from 1960 to 1970, and we have the registration document, the libretto, to prove it. And this was the car that Ferrucio Lamborghini, he'd made a shed load of money as one of Italy's most prominent industrialists. He'd had Mercedes 300 SLs, all sorts of things. This car, and he had problems with the clutch on it, constantly wearing. He met Enzo Ferrari in a restaurant by chance. They both had friends with them. And the conversation, we have a transcript of the exact conversation from the person who was with Ferrucio Lamborghini. Olivier has managed to get that. And the exchange was something along the lines of Ferrucio Lamborghini said to Enzo Ferrari, "Not happy with the clutch on your cars, it's not up to spec, you need to make a better one." And Enzo Ferrari said, "You carry on making tractors and I'll carry on making sports cars." As you can imagine, that did not go down very well with a man as passionate and as driven as Ferrucio Lamborghini. End result, this car caused him, he was so affronted by the way that Enzo Ferrari had treated him, he thought, right, I'm going to make, in addition to my tractor business, my central heating business, my air conditioning business, I'm going to start a car manufacturer. And that's what he did. And that's where Lamborghini today came from. It all started with this car. Yes, it all started with this car. A 1959 Ferrari 250 GT Pininfarina Coupe. There were very few of these cars made. There were very few Ferrari 250 GTs made, actually, in the general scheme of things, particularly by modern day standards. I think they made 200 of these, and this was Ferrari's first production car, if you like. Ferrucio Lamborghini, as I say, decided to purchase one. It was this one. This was the exact car. I did some detective work around which clutch from which tractor fits this car. It's a 9.5-inch Borg and Beck. This car is a few months away now from being finished, but I imagine there's going to be a tsunami of publicity around this car because it sparked one of the most iconic brands in the world. Very interesting. It was originally supplied in this color scheme, bianco with turquoise interior, turquoise, very much like the color scheme of a Riva boat at the time, and of course Lamborghini also had the ultimate Riva boat, which was a Aquarama, top of the range, with two of his V12s in it instead of two American V8s. And I had the pleasure and the privilege of being invited to tune the engine on that boat a few years ago. So it's very interesting snapshots in Lamborghini's life. This car, as I say, whether it inspired him to, it was all happening in Italy around that time. La Dolce Vita, beautiful Alfa Romeos, beautiful concept cars, the Bat Alfa Romeos, the study cars, the design study cars. Ferrucio Lamborghini liked white cars. His Countach, which we also had the privilege of recommissioning here in the workshop a few years ago. That's another video. That was white, that car. So I think Ferrucio Lamborghini liked his white cars. I must confess, it's not my favorite color, but it is growing on me, actually. I quite like this. But anyway, it's coming on, and we're doing everything on the car to as close to original factory specification as we can. We're very, very close with this car now. It's really come on very well. But finding the bits for it, because a lot of bits were missing when the car was purchased, and I went to check it over in Italy to authenticate it and make sure it was fit for purchase, and a lot of bits were missing. And because they made so few of them, it's been quite the nightmare to find some parts actually. But we have to power on through. The car is worth it. It's almost there. It's going to be very exciting to be involved with this car when it's finished. And what self-respecting concours organizer would not like to have this car in their show? An incredibly important car. Right, let's see what Alex is doing with the grill. This is a Radiator Grill. That's the outside that James fabricated a while back for the outside of the grill. This has a thin U-section rubber surround that goes around it. That's literally fabricated from sheet metal to suit the aperture on the 250. We did have a version 1 grill.
Yeah.
But we weren't happy with it, were we?
Well, when we started looking at other photos of the majority of what you could find, there was more of a straighter section grill. The only one we could have copied was more of an angle.
Right.
These slats, but when you start looking at photos, they are straight.
Right. Okay. So this is
like version 2 now.
It's quite a rigid bit of kit.
Oh, it's solid. Like, it doesn't move.
And we got the correct thickness of aluminium, didn't we?
Yeah, that's it for the slats. Yeah.
So what is it? One and a half?
It's about 2 mil.
2 mil.
Thick, yeah.
Okay. So that is an exact representation of a Ferrari 250 grill.
As close as we could get it, like, yeah.
And you got the right number of slats in the right places.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All spaced out, roughly going by eye where we need them. Yeah.
Good. So yeah, as opposed, so we looked at photographs, got the right number of these, got the right number of horizontal slats. I mean, look at that. It's just a work of art. That is absolutely beautiful.
Like you say, we're still work in progress at the moment, because obviously it's originally pop riveted. I've just bolted it now just for taking it apart and putting it back together. Just it's easier.
And these are for the spotlight.
Yeah. Well, looking at obviously going off, like you say, you can only go off pictures. This is the same width as these, so majority of this will be cut off and won't be used at all. So, which makes it easier because it's not fouling anything inside the car.
Of course, like the radiator or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just stunning. So it is literally constructed.
Yeah, they were my templates, obviously.
So
using the thinner.
Just like that.
Just slots together like that.
You see, even I can make a Ferrari grill.
But everything on it has been done by eye. It's not like I can put all these together and I'll just put cuts in them. It didn't work like that. So I've had to cut them, every slot on these parts I've had to cut individually, offering them up, making sure it's going to fit right.
Well, what a meticulous job. I mean, this is how Pininfarina will have made them originally.
Most probably, yeah. Whether they'd had any jigs or anything, but like every car was different, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So again, Alex, that's absolutely magnificent work. It really is. I consider myself extremely fortunate to have people like you pitching up in the morning and doing a bit.
Yeah, got to do something, haven't we?
All right, thanks very much, Alex.
Yeah, no worries.
We're in Craig's Emporium in the corner again. You're becoming a YouTube sensation on your own, Craig. There's close danger of breaking the internet, to use all the social media cliches. We haven't particularly prepared this. Pair of scissors, tape measure,
props,
a few bits of leather. This is your world, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, it's the inside of my brain.
This is the inside of your brain. Well, some of us go home thinking about all sorts of things, and with you, well, anyway, yes, you get the idea. And the reason why we haven't got much on here of any significance is because the car that you've been working on most, the Lamborghini Islero, is coming on, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. We've started fitting most of the bits that that we can fit with great difficulty as well, yes, yeah.
Well, the headlining, the roof lining, which Craig, I think we covered in the last workshop.
I think we had. Did we have it on the table?
We did have it on the table, and you thought it would be, because it's got some weight to it, you thought it would be a challenge to get it to stick to the roof, so you had to devise some clever system to do that, which you've done, and you've done the bit round the outside,
the perimeter,
which is another fiberglass moulding, which was in how many pieces?
It was in 4 pieces, and it it just didn't fit as well. You know, we put it together and it just wasn't right. So we put it together again, and it's better.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, but we had to take bits off it and re-fiberglass it together, and there was just no structure to it. So we reinforced the corners, because I know as soon as I was going to fit it, I was going to be putting so much tension on it to try and get it, you know, around where the seals go. It would have been crazy, you know, to have put it in and then for it to start buckling, for want of a better word. Yeah.
And I mean, like a lot of parts on Ferrari, Lamborghini, to a certain extent Maserati as well, they all had fiberglass moldings for just about everything, didn't they? A Lamborghini Miura, the whole interior is fiberglass moldings, even the seats.
Yes.
And this, we've covered the door trim and the door pockets, etc. But it was a bit of a dog's dinner, and this. You had to actually make up the headlining and anticipate how that the leather was going to fit over it before you put it in situ.
Yes. So you've got sort of like a picture frame like that, and the leather needs to be. So then you've got a leather which apes that shape, but it's got to be trimmed sort of on the side that you don't see to keep. Maybe I'm describing this poorly, but you'll see. And for it to stay there, it was difficult to just do it on the table and then transfer it onto there and then start trimming it. It was, it's quite a
you had
piece of work.
You had one go at it, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah, yes.
And it looks absolutely sensational. It really does. And the dashboard's in the car. Pete's done his bit with the wiring.
Yeah, they struggled. Marcus and Pete struggled getting the dash in as well. Everything's so tight in there. Yeah.
So, welcome to the world of hand-built cars. Yes. But it's beginning to really take shape, this Lamborghini Islero now. We've got 2 of them here out of the 225 built, 1% almost of total production. So don't blink too much, or we might have another one in.
Yeah, we're on to the next one.
But it's looking fabulous now. It really is. And while we're on the subject of trim, I've got to dig out this particularly beautiful piece of brown material on a bit of plywood, I think, here. This is out of my prized Rover SD1, which I got because my dad had one new in 1978, and I just thought we were the bee's knees having a brand new Rover SD1. But the dampness has got at the interior quite drastically, so we've dried the car out. And the funny thing is, I mean, I find this very amusing actually, that we are struggling because we're so used to dealing with the Wilton carpet, the finest Connolly hide, the finest car interior leather money can buy. I'm actually struggling to find something. I mean, okay, it was a Rover, but it was still a British Leyland semi-prestigious car. We're struggling to find something that's of poor enough quality to do the job.
It's getting the quality and the colour. Yeah, we've seen loads that it's almost there, but it's not quite. Yes.
Yeah, and this is it's like a tufted leather, is it, or something? Leather.
Yeah,
what am I talking about?
It's like a tufted carpet. Yes, yeah.
It's not particularly high quality, is it? It's just like their Billy Basic sort of British Leyland stuff for the. But to try and match this is proving quite the challenge.
Oh yes, yeah.
But we'll get there. But we'll find a trim supplier that has tufted carpet. But I just find the whole thing very amusing. Yes, that's one of the good bits that fits over the spare wheel. That actually is moulded to fit in the car. But we're testing Craig's parts procurement skills with a piece of manky old Rover carpet. No, I love SD1s, so I'm determined to make a go of this car. And we'll if enough people are interested, and they loved the Rover SD1 Vitesse video I did a while back. I think that's had 400,000 views or something crazy. So I might do another one on this SD1 at some point. But watch this space. I'm sure you'll all be enthralled to know that we found some cheap tufted carpet to match the others. So Craig, as ever, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, this is another car which has sort of snuck under the radar a bit. We've had this car in for a while, and it's been quite the challenge, this car. We'll just put, let's put it out there, cards on the table, warts and all. This is a Mercedes 350 SL, but it's a very early one. It's one of the first R107s. They only made this particular specification from 1972 when they launched them, or 71, up until 1974-75. And I'm talking particularly, one of the things, about the fuel injection system. A few videos ago, we had a lovely silver Mercedes 280 SE 3.5 coupe in, and that had the same engine as this, the M116 Mercedes V8. Very good engine. They developed it, went from cast iron block to alloy block. They made a couple of mistakes along the way, but generally this engine was right from day one. But this fuel injection system is the Bosch D-Jetronic system, which is an electronic fuel injection system. The first, as I went into on the silver Mercedes, the first really sorted, reliable, practical electronic fuel injection system on a car that would last a long time. Aston Martin experimented with a British system, the AE Brico fuel injection system, on the DB6, and it was so unreliable, people sent the cars back to Aston Martin, the factory as it then was at Newport Pagnell, and they took the fuel injection off and fitted Weber carburetors on for reliability. Very sad, but there's quite a few DB6 Vantages, I say quite a few tens of DB6 Vantages that were converted back because the injection was unreliable. But the interesting thing about this car, it having the D-Jetronic injection, the injection system is, it's all about the duration of the fuel injectors, how long they are opened for in order to administer a tiny bit of fuel into that cylinder at that time. The fuel curve, the mapping curve of the injectors based on engine load, revs, whether it's accelerating or not, on the overrun, whether it's idling, whatever, all these parameters send signals to the electronic control unit, and that determines the injector duration. Now, the funny thing is, modern fuels are wreaking havoc with some of these cars because fuel has changed ingredients so much over the last 40 odd years since these cars were launched. They've now got benzene, ethanol, all sorts of differences. They're unleaded. I mean, this car was sort of built in the German fuel was, I think, one of the first to go for unleaded petrol. The Germans and the Americans brought out unleaded fuel, but for the rest of the world, it was still 100 octane leaded petrol. So this injection system was originally set up for 5-star British fuel with lead, or high octane, low benzene, low ethanol, unleaded petrol for Germany and the US. They got the curve, the fueling curve right, but this car has come in because of a hesitation on acceleration. Just loses a couple of cylinders between sort of 1400 and 1800 RPM, and it's been quite the job to find what was wrong with this. And we've eventually pinned it down. We had the ECU tested, the fueling curve on oscilloscopes and other sort of meters, whizzy electronic gizmodry, and we found that the fueling curve was right for the car, but it's not right for the fuel. So we're actually going to have to alter the fueling curve in the ECU. We're going to have to send it away to the same people who tested it. And it's taken some getting to the bottom of this. It really has, because the injection system is complicated. Things like the manifold air pressure sensor are very fine instruments. You take one apart at your peril, really. They're riveted together from the factory, so they can't be taken apart. But yeah, just an example of the sort of challenge we face. Modern fuels ignite more hotly than older fuels. So the result is that the whole engine gets hotter. The underbonnet temperatures with modern fuels, even with additives, are higher than they used to be. Quite the challenge, really. Lots of cars with carburetors on are suffering with high temperature vapor lock like they never have before. This is a challenge, but challenges are there to be overcome. But yeah, this has been quite the job, actually, quite the job. there isn't a day that goes by that we don't have various Lamborghinis in disassembly, various stages of disassembly in the workshop. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about this engine because it is such a thing of beauty, really. There we are. It's it started life as a 3.5 litre, then it went to a 4 litre V12. It's got these, this is aluminium, the block is aluminium, which was quite unusual in production cars in the early to mid 1960s. Aston Martin did it. Mercedes-Benz had started doing it just on the 300 SL in 1962. So yeah, it was obviously it was used in aircraft engines in World War II, but it was still quite the thing to have an all aluminium engine, block and heads. These gear wheels here are part of the camshaft drive mechanism. You have a timing chain, duplex timing chain here, which goes round there and drives the inlet camshaft here for the carburetors coming in from up here, and then the exhaust down there. So inlet camshaft, exhaust camshaft. These are actually Timken roller bearings. They're very, very expensive. They're almost special for this engine. These are Timken roller bearings were I think invented in the early 20th century. I'm digging, I haven't done any research on this, but they're not a bull race. They're not a bull bearing. They're actually rollers in an inner and outer race. They're stronger than a bull race. And they were used in extreme applications only, such as the turbine-powered steam locomotives in the UK. They actually experimented, the Stanier turbine, they experimented with a steam turbine-powered steam locomotive, and it actually used Timken roller bearings because they were the only ones that were up to the load of the huge drive mechanism either side of the locomotive. So these bearings are about £400 each, something like that. You got 4 of them on the engine, and they should be just like that, beautifully smooth, just the right amount of inertia. That is what you're looking for. Why were these bearings so critical? Well, because with the light flywheel on the engine, which means it can pick up the revs and drop them down to idle again very quickly, that puts the timing chains, particularly when they're driving 2 camshafts, it puts them under enormous strain and stretch. And if you're not careful, the bearings can suffer as a result. So these bearings are special for the reason that they are under extreme pressure with the high revs and high speeds and high inertia that the timing chain subjects them to. The cylinder head sits on top of these. We've got these magnificent pistons made by CP Carrillo for us in California to our design. They've done lots of them now. And the cylinder liners insert in the block. You have a protrusion, as it's called, between the cylinder head face and the liner, so that the cylinder head gasket firing ring crushes properly when you torque the head down, but also it's doing the majority of the work here, obviously, the cylinder head gasket. And then you have the coolant here, and if you're not careful, if you don't get the protrusions right, you either end up with a combustion chamber that doesn't work properly, or you end up with coolant leaking out of the engine. And here is a cylinder head gasket. Here's one we didn't use earlier. So that goes on there like that. There's the firing rings. And this is the this is the oil supply so that the oil comes up through the galleries in the cylinder block, up into the cylinder head, and then along, lubricating both the camshafts. There's the firing rings, and the head gasket is slightly thinner on here, so that the whole thing crushes down. It's very carefully calculated. The protrusions have to be 0.1 millimeter or 0.04 of an inch for the whole thing to work properly, and then the gasket does its thing. But this is a lovely bit of kit. It was designed as a racing car engine. This was for the early 1960s. By this time, I think the Ferrari P3, P4 era, Ferrari had started going on to 3 or 4 valves a cylinder, but for road cars, this was not far off state of the art really. It's a magnificent bit of kit. You've got the engine oil sump here, baffles inside. Some of them on some cars are spring loaded so that the oil can't get out, but it can get back in if it's been splashing with the G-forces of acceleration, braking and cornering. Yeah, it's just an example of fabulous engineering. We're just about to launch a package of improvements for the Lamborghini 4-litre engine, including the pistons and some other trick parts on the engines, and they do make the world of difference. I've been out in some Espadas that we've done this to, and it does transform the car. Actually, there's a very noticeable difference in performance. Mid-range torque, normally with an Espada, you accelerate and the car goes. With this engine in, it's more like a Ferrari Daytona. The back of the car actually squats down and accelerates because it's got more power. So, lovely result. I'm sure we'll get around to dynoing it at some stage. But yeah, that essentially is the Lamborghini V12 4-litre engine, and what a beautiful thing it is. Well, please do remember to subscribe. It makes a big difference. It helps the old algorithm. And thanks for watching, and we'll be back with something else very soon.